everybody, so today we're going to paint a dandelion, but not the bright yellow dandelion like what we see in the middle of summer. This one, I love the little pieces of dandelion that float away, and I like this image. Anyway, so we're going to paint a dandelion kind of at the end of its life, so to speak, even though the roots still live. So what you're going to need for this is you're going to need a reference photo. This one is just simply so that I can see the form. I kind of like that a lot of the seeds are gone there, but you can make a solid white puff there. You don't have to have the other stuff gone. And then I just wanted to see the different seeds. You know, they've got the brown tips and then the white stems and the white fluff on the top so that they can sail away. So whatever reference photo, this one is just one I printed off. There's a lot of them online that you can look at. So reference photo. For the background, you're going to need a canvas. So this is just one I have. This is 11 by 17. It doesn't matter what size. It just depends on what you want to end up with. I'm going to do mine horizontally. You can do yours vertically if you want. You're going to need paint brushes. So I have some large brushes, for coating the background really quickly, and then just some smaller brushes for painting in the details, just a variety of sizes. And for the fluff, I found this to be a nice brush, but for you, you might like to use a fan brush. I didn't feel like, just because the fan brush is so big, that it was conducive to these, but you can pick. For the background, I'm not going to use a really heavy background like fancy paints. I'm just going to use, I wanted a green, a blue, and then a yellow to kind of complement the green. And I'm going to kind of do just a abstract background. It's not going to have any form really. It's going to be kind of green down here, kind of blue up here, and kind of yellow in there somewhere too. So it's not going to look like anything particular, like a field or anything. It'll just kind of be there. And then for the dandelion and the little fluff, I'm going to use these. These are Liquitex, and these are a heavier body paint, and so consequently they are harder. They don't flow as much, you know. So for coating a background, it would take a lot more pushing and pulling of the paint, and that's why I'm going to use these a little bit less expensive ones. The other thing you're going to want is some water, paper towels. I use a lot of paper towels, just watercoloring, but in acrylics, you don't want a lot of water on your brush because it dilutes the color and it dilutes the paint. So paper towels, so once you rinse, you can wipe the water off your brush and then go back, and then something to put your paint on. So for this first layer, because it is just the background, I just have a plate. You can use whatever you want there. So I'm going to get my paints out on my stuff and we'll get started. Okay, to start with, I'm just going to start with my green. I think for mine, I want to have it go from the green down here, kind of flowing into the blue, and then the yellow is just to kind of lighten up the green a little bit as we get closer to the top. What I've done here is I've wetted my paintbrush, but so that the bristles are wet and flexible, but then I've dried it on my paper towel. So I'm just going to get going, just dip in the color. And again, this, I don't even care if some of the, I want to cover the canvas, but I don't care if we have brush marks. I don't care if it's darker and lighter, and if you can see the texture of the canvas. Just start throwing some color down. If you want to make the background something, you can do that. I gotta move my reference photo. And again, just kind of, this stage, you're just getting the paint on. But one thing you do need to do is work quickly. Because as it starts to dry, if you go over it again, it will pull the paint off. I'm not going to go around the canvas right now. I haven't decided. I usually like to paint the edges black. I don't know why, but I do. So that's probably what I'm going to do. But I'm going to do that later. I like to get some tape it on there. Okay, I'm going to start into a little bit of this yellow, work that into the green as it comes up higher. This side might be mostly green. And obviously as the yellow mixes with the blue, it's going to turn into a green too, but I'm not going to mix it totally. Actually, I think I want that to go higher, all the way up. And then get this blue on here. And I want it to kind of mix, but then I'm going to rinse a little bit. Actually, maybe I'll rinse now. Because I want the blue to kind of maintain its integrity here up at the top. Again, rinse thoroughly and then wipe all that water off. I'm going to start up here. This color laid down, and again I'm trying to make sure that some of that stays pretty blue, but mixing it in, it can come in here, and I'll probably, and here it's mixing, and that's fine because we're coming down towards the ground. Mix in some of that there. I also have to have paper towels because I am a really messy painter too, so get it all over myself, get it all over my table, that's okay. Okay, I'm liking that. I might take a little bit of this blue down into here, a little yellow. I really like that darker color down here though. Looks like I need more yellow up in here. A little more dark. And I missed a spot right up here. I do want to cover the canvas, I just don't care if it's like totally covered. But that is that blue, so we'll rinse, dry that brush really good, make sure we're coated. There's a spot here, right there. All right. I am now going to leave that and let it dry. And I want this to be completely dry because the next layer, I don't want it to pull the paint off. So it needs to be all the way dry. Actually, I have this little fairly sharp ridge. Whoops. Right in there. Okay. Actually, maybe we'll make it look a little bit like grass with some upward strokes and some outward strokes. This is how I paint on the fly. Okay, so we're going to leave that now to dry, and then we'll do our dandelion. Alright, so I blew dry my painting. You can do that or not. One way to check it is like lean it, and if there's any shiny spots, like right here, I have a little bit of shine here, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Just up a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do, ooh, my camera's precariously balanced. So what I'm going to do is I was only going to do one dandelion. Where did my picture go? One dandelion, but I decided the canvas is big enough. I think what I'm going to do is do one taller straight one and then kind of one, because you know, everything needs a friend. So we're going to give this dandelion a friend. So The stalk on a dandelion at that stage is somewhat brownish yellow. This one's got a little bit of green and a little bit of brown yellow in it. So just for contrast, I don't want to put green on this again. So I'm going to do brown. And I did not realize I don't have a brown in this one kit that I have here. And so I'm just using, I have a regular brown, but then I'm using the Liquitex yellow to go with it. And I have this round brush, and I forgot to get out my other one. It's not a round brush. That's the one I wanted. Anyway, I've got several brushes here, a flat brush, some smaller brushes, and oh, here it is sitting next to me. And this brush, this is kind of a flat with a curved edge. I like these ones because they seem to cut into lines pretty well. Anyway, I'm going to start though with this round brush, and then I'm going to, if I need to, I can switch out from there. And I'm going to start, and I just kind of want a mottled look to this stalk. So I'm just going to start, make sure I had one other shiny spot, but it looks like it's dry. And I'm just going to come up where I want it. Sorry, I'm going to have to turn. I'm not good at painting sideways. And it's going to start out fairly dark. But the nice thing about acrylics, so I usually paint watercolors. Acrylics, you can paint the lights over. Whereas watercolor, you have to paint the lights first and then you put in the darks. Anyway, so coming straight up, we'll get a little yellow. Whoops, touch that to the side, that's all right. Yellow on that one side. I don't even know if you can see that little bit of a difference. But and I'm not going to come up because remember, don't go too high because you've got your top of your dandelion. Mine is very wobbly today. My hand is not steady. That's all right. Okay, I think I'm going to just add my yellow to that a little bit more. Spread that in there, lighten it up a little here and there. On the edges. And I want to kind of smooth that into it. I don't want like a yellow stalk. I just want lighter brown here and there. And if you don't have a brown, you can do yellow and purple. All the complementary colors make brown and gray. So anyway, I'm going to rinse my brush really good just because I don't like all the paint on it. Remember, when you rinse, you need to wipe off the paint really well. Now I'm going to do my other one, kind of starting just a little bit over, but just kind of curving on this one. That'll be good since I don't have to draw a steady straight line there with that one. I was a little bit worried that I was still slightly damp. This one, I don't know. We'll end here, somewhere in here. And then again, add that yellow. And there to lighten up that stalk a little bit. Although at the bottom, I probably got a little too much in there. But it just gives it a little bit of variety because nothing is very solid usually out in nature. All right. So I'm going to let that dry just because I don't want to mess that up, and then we'll go on to kind of the head. All right, so that's had a chance to dry. Now the head on this, like the little round part, and I just taped up my reference photo, so I'm not going to pull it back off. but it's kind of a yellowy white color. So I have on my palette my brown and yellow, like I had before. I've added a little tiny bit of green. It's a little bit different color green. I don't know if I'm going to like it or not. I may have to go get my other green. And then I'm adding some white to my palette because we're going to use a lot of white here in just a minute. Anyway, so I'm going to start off with white. And just, I mean, it can be round. This one's round-ish, but not like totally round. Actually, let's start over here. Fairly smooth, but and it's not huge, that bottom part. This one I'm going to kind of make less. Maybe I'll go back and make that other one less round too. And then there's kind of almost like a little touch of greeny yellow in there. Now we'll see if I like this green. I actually don't think I'm going to. It's almost kind of a teal green. Maybe it'll be okay. Throw some of that in there. If I put some yellow in there with it, it'll be okay. Actually, that's nice. Okay. But for the most part, it's pretty white. Actually, I got a little too, oh no, I got way too much. Anyway, so kind of just whatever you see there, it's not super critical. I actually might add a little bit of brown to the bottom edge, just as kind of a little bit of shadow. Actually, I'm not going to. So there's little, and I don't know, you may want to get out a toothpick for this, but little dots where the seeds have let go, all on this side. So whatever you may need a toothpick, if you can dot it really tiny with your paintbrush, you can do that. I'm going to try to dot mine really tiny. Some of it's working. And that's where they all have like let go already. Alright, so I am going to add in just a few leaves. Actually, I am going to go get my other green. Hold on. Okay, the other green was more like would look cool in a water setting, but not on a plant setting. So I'm going to use, and the leaves are going to be mostly brown, but I'm going to start off with green. And these are not really leaves, they're just kind of, they are leaves, but they're just kind of like the endings of things, you know. So I'll just paint a couple of those in, get some brown, kind of highlight them a little bit. And then I actually may throw a little bit of yellow in those too. They kind of blend in though because everything in the back is green. You could do a black background with this, that would look cool. There we go. Bring that out, bring that out. Same thing on the other one. Or you could do just a solid, whoops, I had too much water and it dripped. Anyway, you could do a lot of different color backgrounds that would look kind of cool. Get a little brown on that, especially kind of around the base of it. And then we'll add some yellow on top of that, kind of as a highlight. Maybe if I can get it to come off my brush. Keep It's a little wet still, so it's... There we go. All right, you don't need too much of that. Okay, so around the dandelion where the stuff is not left yet, there's the little seeds are a little brown color. So I'm just going to come and put in brown all the way around this, each one of these, just like little strokes up. And these are the seeds that are still haven't taken off yet. And you can bring them down into your little white area. You know, if there's some still down in there. If there's any down lower, I think I'm going to just leave mine there. Same thing on this one. This one I'm going to not put so many down lower. Most of them are all disappeared. Maybe I'll put some down lower down here. I tell you one thing and then I do the other. Maybe I'll leave a little opening there where they've all disappeared already. All right. Okay, I'm going to let that brown dry because the next phase is kind of that really, really white. So we're going to leave that for a minute. Okay, so that's dry and I'm going to add on a little bit of yellow just for color on top of that brown, but I wanted it to dry completely. Just for a little highlight. Sorry, my kids are in the background arguing. Whoop. Okay, and that's going to be dry enough. So now I'm going to take, all right, now I'm going to take, I've switched brushes to this more flat, but it's got a little bit of a round to it. And I'm going to paint the white fluff that's still on here. And I'm going to paint a lot of it, and then the little stems, when they come off, they look white, but down here there's little brown bits, and so we'll drop those in here in just a minute. So I'm going to start with not a lot of paint on my brush, and all the little things splay out from the middle, so I'm going to keep the angle of my brush the same direction as I want it to splay out. So I'm going to go sideways and I'm just adding a ton of white, but again, I don't want it to be too white though either, because it's got to be see-through-y, if that makes sense. I'm coming down into the brown a little bit. And definitely up here at the top it's a lot more splayed out, so you may not have as much at the bottom, but at the time I may have had a little more paint on the brush than I wanted. It's okay. There's darker and lighter areas. Okay. A little bit more, and I'm going to put a little down under these leaves just to make it kind of look like there's something else down there. Okay, and then I'm going to do this other one. Again, no water, don't get too much water on your brush. On the counter. And the top is fluffier than the bottom, so just keep that in mind. Come out, out, fluff out that outside. Remember on this one I left a little space, a little gap there. I'm going to leave that in the, at least in the bottom part of things. I may fluff some stuff out there here in a minute, but keep going, just fill in the whole area. That white with the green background will really stand out. And again, I want to kind of come down behind these leaves a little bit. Okay, I like that. Actually, I might go a little bit taller, but we'll see. Actually, I might. Just a little bit, because the bit thinner up through the top area. Get enough paint, but not too much here. Part of it's about how much pressure you put on the canvas though too, so. Okay, I like that. Let's do that to this one, just a little bit farther out. The canvas is not flat. Right. There we go. I like that. Okay. Let me rinse that off. So one thing I do notice is that there's a lot of little brown like dots out in here that come from the little wrong side, that come from the little tops of the seeds. So I'm going to drop in just some little brown dots here and there. And they kind of go in an arc, so don't get carried away about putting these like down inside anywhere. They're at the ends. And then same thing on this one. Some of those dots are bigger than others. Okay, and then I'm going to just highlight some of these with a little bit of green or yellow, probably yellow, stalks. Actually, I'm going to mix green and yellow to make a really light green. I'm going to pull those up through here. Maybe I want brown actually. Maybe I will do brown. Pull those up out here and there. Actually, I'm going to switch to that same brush I did the stems with. The other stems, sorry. Brown, because that was getting to be too thick. Okay, I like that. You don't have to put these in because up higher they're going to be white where they're floating away, but there we go. Okay, the last step on this painting is to do all the floating away little, and you can add as many or as few as you want. The first thing I'm going to do is drop in the little brown seed pod. Just a small straight line. Kind of an oval shaped straight line. How many ever you want, wherever you want. Wow. They're coming from both dandelions. And remember though, don't get too close to your top because you still got to add the stem and the little fluffy top. I guess you could paint it off the canvas. Okay, I'm going to try that many. See what I think. Switching back to that little bit of a rounded brush. Just getting some on the very tip. Now these seed pods, I want this little thing to be fairly visible, but not super wide. If that makes sense. Now keep in mind how big your dandelions are. You don't want to make these super long and tall. If you didn't make them super long and tall. Oh, sorry. And your on your actual dandelions. Maybe I'll zoom in here a little bit. Make sure you don't run your arms through any of them. I do that regularly. Run my arms through my paintings, I mean. This one's coming down here. It's not going to go very far like that. Coming up. Okay, so now you're going to have to add on the fluffy stuff. Same brush, little paint, not much paint. And these, if you'll notice, they're like upside down umbrellas. So when you go to paint them, don't paint them too fluffy, coming off the sides, like in an arc, because they are upside down umbrellas. It's really dark. And make sure you're coming out from the stem thing too. You don't want to get off funky from the stem. And you just drop in all the ones you want, and when you're done, make sure it is what you want. And again, don't run your arms through your paint, your existing paint. Make sure it's dry before you start on this part of things. This actually dries pretty quick though. Alright, am I getting off the paper? You can spend as much or as little time on these, and this is a very quick, fun little, I guess it's kind of an end of summer painting, but I don't know, it's snowy outside, I like the green and the color. Oops, too much paint. Like I said, if you put in, like, instead of doing a colorful background, put in like a black background. This would look cool with a black background as well. I think I'm going to end there. Possibly I'm going to end the video there anyway. You get the idea, and that's kind of, let me zoom out, kind of a fun springtimey painting. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you paint it, and if you do, I'd love to see your finished product.